He'll likely be out of prison in 3 years and 3 months. After that, he'll serve 3 years probation. We now know a neighbor called an SRS abuse hotline in January to report hearing screams from a child and an adult male inside the home. But I'm telling you, this is going to be your best friend today, your snow scraper. This snow is heavy, it's wet, it's all over everything. And speed is an issue at this intersection, but so is the sun. At this time of the day, it can get in your way. This particular tornado has been on the ground for about 10 minutes now. As you can see towards the base of it, there is some debris starting to kick up.
KSN's Meyer is live with the latest, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Newark. Well, prosecutors are now saying that not only did the mother know about the abuse taking place in her home, she also abused her 19-month-old son, who has now been identified as Vincent Hill. She was arrested and faces charges of aggravated battery, child abuse, and aggravated endangerment of a child. This is who we're talking about. She is 20-year-old Catherine Nicole Dale. She goes by Nicole. She was arrested and expected to appear in court at 4 p.m. today. She's currently being held on a $50,000 bond. Dale's boyfriend called police on Saturday to report the child was not breathing. The 19-month-old was taken to the hospital, where he died about 45 minutes later. Further investigation showed that that child had been abused. The boyfriend, 26-year-old Chad Carr, was arrested and faces 2 counts of aggravated battery, 2 counts of abuse of a child. However, those charges could increase if an autopsy shows that this was indeed a homicide. In fact, prosecutors are saying this is the worst case of abuse he's seen in 28 years.
Eyes swollen shut, leg twisted in an unnatural position.
Prosecutors are still waiting, as I mentioned, on that autopsy to see if more stiffer penalties will be brought in this case. Now,
Sheriff's Department, come to the door.
If this knock ever comes to your door, open it.
Listen up, man. You gotta come to the door. We're gonna have to break this door, and it's a nice door.
Because if you don't and try to hide inside,
let's do it.
Expect a visit from Rommel.
You got. Hey! Dog's coming in!
That's what finally got this suspected felon back behind bars. He's got an active felony warrant out of Cowley County, and today is a roundup.
I don't normally have this many officers to utilize to do this type of operations. An operation like this alone would have used up all of my guys on one deal. We still have people at other houses arresting other people.
This operation is part of an annual nationwide warrant sweep that targets domestic violence offenders. But sometimes these arrests uncover additional crimes.
You need to smell this. Wow.
That's what happened at this North Wichita home. Officers found a major marijuana grow house when they busted a guy on a simple city bench warrant.
We've so far taken over 100 plants, marijuana plants, out of the house, and the supporting equipment that would go along with that.
But this roundup won't find everyone. Right now in Sedgwick County, there are more than 11,000 active warrants.
Thousands.
This is just going to scratch the surface today, but it's got to help.
It scratches the surface, and hopefully what it lets people know also is if you're wanted, you can turn yourself in.
If you do that, you won't get this unwelcome visit during the next warrant sweep. That's the good news out here. As you mentioned, the temperatures aren't too bad. There's no wind really to speak of. And it's really pretty. Take a look at this tree. I mean, as you can see, the snow is really sticking to everything really nicely. Here's where we run into some bad news, because as you come over here to the streets, the roads, especially side streets, are snow-packed. But if you get down, this is really slushy kind of out here, a little wet out there. And as Mark mentioned, we've reached our high for the day. So as it gets colder, that's the stuff I'm worried about. That's going to refreeze out there and cause some trouble spots for drivers. Now,
awesome.
Staff Sergeant Zach Ballantyne has a sharp eye. Most of the time. He's a large caliber machine gunner with the 184th Security Forces unit. We first met this seasoned veteran back in February.
My background started in the Marine Corps. I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, spent some time in Washington State, Hawaii, which is where I met Deborah.
Zach has served overseas before, so he knows what to expect. But the deployment will be a new experience for their kids, Eric and Sophia.
To some, it's daddy's big adventure, and it's funny and it's cute, and to others, it's a little more real, like the 9-year-old Sophia, and it's painful. You know, you don't like leaving that behind.
Hey, yo!
Deb Ballantyne will have her hands full with the kids, but she's used to the duties involved with military service. She, too, is a member of the Kansas National Guard.
I have a top secret clearance. I can find out everything that's going on if I wanted to, but there's been a part of me, too, that's skirted asking more questions than I need to, and just trying to play the role of spouse.
Dual military families are becoming more common on base, and Deb knows there's a chance she could be called up for duty while Zach's away. It's an unknown that complicates this already anxious situation.
Crying is part of our stress relief, too.
Bravo! We'd meet up with Zach again in May in El Paso, Texas, as the unit intensified its training at Fort Bliss before their mission overseas. Usually after this training, the group would get to go home for a few days. But at Fort Bliss, the unit found out that many would be deploying straight from here.
We haven't had anything major happen, thank goodness.
We'd catch up with Deb again in August, a few months into Zach's deployment. Her parents were in town to help watch the kids. Extended family would play a major role in this deployment, especially when Deb had to leave town on military business.
For one of those trips, my oldest brother and his family in St. Louis took care of the kids, and really it was a vacation for them, so that was great.
The deployment has been smooth at home. As for Zach overseas,
We haven't had any hiccups, and it's really, again, it's gone better than we could have hoped.
technology let us check in on our unit in Saudi Arabia.
Right here, guarding out the perimeter, making sure that everything stays safe and secure.
An area that hasn't seen the hostilities of other regions involved in the war effort. Still, the threat of attack remains constant, something Zach says he's willing to take on again if asked.
If the option presented itself, then yes. I doubt Deb would be real happy with me, though.
Still, it's possible Deb could get the next call to duty.
I'll be equally excited to go. I'll probably take a little different approach because I'm a mom. I'll be making checklists and filling up everything in the house.
In November, we'd meet up with the family for one last time.
Wave your hands! You see him?
Amidst a huge crowd gathered to welcome home the troops, little Eric couldn't hold back his excitement. It's been 6 months since their last Valentine family hug.
Come here, you.
Another deployment could separate this family again in the future, but for now, they're just happy to have Team Valentine back together.
So happy.